Hello and welcome to the August meta tier list Albion Online MMORPG where you were what you are. This will most likely be the last tier list video until the new weapon tree comes out, and just an FYI, the ratings in this video will assume the NDA and the test server changes come through as they've been proposed on the forums. All the important links you need are in the description below. Without further ado, let's jump into the 1v1 content. Corrupted dungeons, not much has changed. Badon is still a very solid pick with high mobility, very safe, and bow got slightly nerfed but still solid, definitely still viable. There's obviously less of that, but also we see more Ava gloves since the buff. Now, one thing to keep in mind for both Corrupted dungeons and for Mists, soldier helmet buff, which I think was a nice buff, so you might have been seeing more of that recently, and for a good reason. So if you're looking for a nice defensive option on certain weapons, you can definitely play soldier helmet. Also to counter reflect. Yeah, if you don't want to play hunter hood anymore, which did get nerfed, you have soldier helmet. I'm not sure if Badon or Chillhowl will be at the top. It's honestly pretty close, but honestly otherwise the meta looks for the most part similar. For Mists, we do have major changes coming up, which are not live as of the time of me posting this video, but again, I'm including those as if they were already out, because that should be somewhat soon. Double-bladed and Great Hammer nerfs are incoming. Double-bladed getting its E nerf to 18 seconds, and Great Hammer to 20 seconds, but for every enemy hit, you reduce the cooldown by 20%. Now, no matter how you look at it, this is a major nerf for Great Hammer, at least for solo play. In group play, we might see more Great Hammers, but these two weapons will still sit comfortably at A tier, I think, even if barely. For S tier, it's honestly a toss-up between Carving and Death Givers, if you ask me. It's pretty close, so I decided to put both there, but otherwise, a lot of things are viable. For 2v2 Hellgates, honestly not much has changed since last time. Demonic is still at S tier. Great Fire is slightly better with higher range, 1 meter buff for Q1, but you still need low ping to play it effectively. Honestly, there's a lot of stuff that's off meta you can play. It would not fit on this off meta image that I got here, so I didn't touch it too much. I added a few more weapons, but honestly healer plus almost any DPS works. But we have Demonic S tier, Deathgiver's Claymore, and One-Handed Curse at A tier. Some people play with Demon Helmet on One-Handed Curse. I think that's slightly cheese, but it is pretty effective, at least at low infamy. For B tier, we got Great Fire and the Dagger pair. Those are pretty much the meta picks. You can still do well with other stuff, but you're gonna have a harder time, especially against better opponents and the higher infamy you are. But otherwise, this is what's viable at the moment. So 5v5 Hellgates are a little weird at the moment. It's hard to tell what the best comp is exactly, but we have the usual comps. We have one shot, front to back, bleed, THC dive. I think these are all viable comps, and I'm honestly not sure which one is the best at the moment. I definitely think there's a little bit of rock, paper, scissors going on, but not by much. So like one shot beats front to back beats dive, and dive beats one shot, but it depends on the exact setups both teams have. So, for example, front to back could go with Glaive as their melee DPS of choice, and then they would have a way stronger matchup against one shot, but then they slightly suffer in other matchups like Dive or other front to back comps that play something that has more value. For example, Carrion Collar, which is the most common, I would say, at the moment. But yeah, hard to tell at the moment, but I have to give it to THC Dive being the strongest and the most consistent. You might look at front to back and see there's a lot of weapons available, and well, yeah, range DPS, you can play Curse or Fire or Frost or Bow or Crossbow, all have potential from what I've seen at least. Heavy Mace or Great Hammer will for sure be viable, especially since Heavy Mace got a slight nerf, and Great Hammer will be more viable for group fights, so I'm looking forward to seeing how the meta develops in 5v5s. And for 10v10 Hellgates, with all of the nerfs to one shot, I actually uploaded a video just a few days ago of a new comp that has taken the scene by storm. I call it the Woozy comp, named after the incredibly popular emoji called Woozy Face. I think this accurately describes how I feel about the meta at the moment, but hey, we had a lot of people who complained about this. All the crystal players who blink in and die. Watch your OP! I mean, no, but there's a lot of people who complain about 10v10s even they don't actually play the content. But yeah, one shot is just no longer viable. Why bother having 5 clothy DPS sinking damage perfectly when you can just, blinking with plate halberd and do more damage that way and have sustained DPS. I just think it's silly when one shot was already weak as it was, to on top of that nerfed spike. Now I know that wasn't just for TENS, that was for ZVZ and so on as well, but I think it's just the unfortunate direction the game is taking. As we saw, they're also nerfing air compress soon. Retroman smoking that good shit. Instead of buffing other engage tools like Camlan or Witchwork or Hodge, I know they tried, but you know, maybe the one major engage tool that's been used that's already pretty telegraphed, by the way. You know, you could do something like remove cast time from Camlan. Very simple solution that would make it way more viable. Maybe not meta, but hey, they're just nerfing burst overall, dumbing down the game, you know, when they added Merc shoes and so on, lowering damage burst overall. And from what I've seen, none of the new shapeshifter weapons are going to help one-shot either, but rather the opposite. So I think we're entering a front-to-back slash brawl meta in 10v10s for a while, unless something drastic changes, but I doubt it because I've never seen a developer revert a change in my life so far. Whether it's Albion or League of Legends or any other game, the balance lead never reverts nerfs and admits they were bad changes. So yeah. On a serious note though, we do have a few different one-shot variants you can still play, although they're very inconsistent. You might pick up a win here and there, but it's not gonna be viable long term. Carving one-shot is decent versus front-to-back and brawl comps, but bad against the classic one-shot variants. There's many different front-to-back variants as well. Too many combinations to put here though, so I just put the more popular options. You also got the Clarent Brawl, which is being played NA time as well. It's pretty much what you run in 20v20 side team, but adjusted for TENS. This is pretty much what you can expect to face against if you're playing 10v10s at the moment. And as always, we ended with the top 10 weapons, again, based off of the overall score, considering all the different content on the sheet I have here. Again, link in the description below. We see the usual as Hallowfall is still the most flexible healing option. Makes sense to see it again at number 1. Bloodletter as well, very flexible. The usual stuff we got, but also Clarent Blade made its way to the top 6, which is not surprising. It got a lot of buffs before and now is starting to see more play. I think it's kind of overtuned in my opinion, especially at 0 stacks. I think the base damage should be reduced. And what would be cool actually is if they made the E add up all the effects from 1 stack, 2 stack, 3 stack. So if you use your E at 3 stacks, you not only deal the extra damage, but also silence and slow, which is how I thought it would work originally when I read the rework. Obviously, at the expense of base damage, I think at least could increase the 3 stack damage as a result, but I think at the moment it's just silly. If you watch any 20v20 matches, it just slap on a Clarent like a monkey and throw your E off cooldown if you're in danger, use a Hellion Jacket, and if that's on cooldown or gets purged, then pop face sandals and run away. Just kind of silly to be honest in most group content, so I think it could get nerfed a little bit. If you can play 4 of it in 10v10s and one-shot Clothies without stacks from one screen away, then yeah, probably needs a slight nerf. And that would pretty much be it for this meta tier list video of August. Again, as I said, there won't be a new video until after the meta has settled a little bit with the new shapeshifter weapons. I will obviously make a meta prediction video as I did for the new Mists gear that came out, which for the most part I think was accurate. But yeah, thank you for watching and consider subscribing for more Albion Online content. Join the community Discord in the description below, and I hope I'll see you next time.